I built out a large box to organize all of my fighting equipment if conflict were to ever break out on US soil. But there's no conflict going on here at home today. So is all of this equipment and training a waste of time and money? Well, the short answer is no, because every time in history that citizens have had modern military fighting equipment, the government overreach was slowed, repelled, or reversed. And every time that they didn't have that kind of equipment, their rights were trampled and eroded. But do we need to bust out a box like this today? Well, no. But anyone who's paying attention can tell that there is a shift going on inside of our world. There's just something not right in every direction. For example, our food is compromised. Not only is it unhealthy and making us sick, it lowers men's testosterone, it causes miscarriages, and it delays or stops children's development. The religious and education systems are teaching Orwellian-style corrupt propaganda. Social media is, of course, free because you are the product. And sure, softcore porn can be easily available, but content like this, well, that gets diminished and demonetized. Trust in government systems is at an all-time record low. Inflation is rampant, on top of the fact that more money has been printed in the last 4 years than in any other time in history in our nation combined. Politicians are allowing illegal immigrants to cross into our border freely, with welfare systems already set up to help them, paid for by your tax dollars. And while inflation grows, your tax dollars continue to increase, the US dollar decreases, politicians are getting filthy rich, all while the cost of living is growing past an unsustainable rate. Theft in major cities is tolerated as long as it's kept under $1,000. And I'm sure none of this is news to you, but if you take a look at it, this mind virus has infected every education, entertainment, and religious system, on top of the fact that it is built into our government institutions now as well. Now, when you boil all this down, you are living in the midst of a war fought with information and perspective. 5th generational warfare.
Guys, let's take a minute and thank some of the sponsors that make free content like this possible for you guys every single week. One of those being Dye Free Co. We have been running some Dye Free Co grips for quite a while now. This is actually one of our favorite grips. It's pretty cool, and you can unplug the bottom, put different inserts in, which I think is pretty rad. Also, they make some other things like this Tiger Claw front grip, which is, in my opinion, awesome. I know we've got actually 5 of these on order. Is that right, Josh? Yeah, we're actually waiting to get some in, so we're super pumped about that. But if you're looking for new grips for your rifles, ones that are a little bit more vertical, which I tend to like a little bit better than the old school A2 style, Dye Free Co is so good. Also, Zero Gravity. Jake from State Farm actually left his job and started Zero Gravity. So we know Jake, he's a pretty good guy, and we've been running his optic mounts for quite some time. It's got a phenomenal lockup on it, like really great return to zero. I'm running one here on my fix with the Sig Tango 6T. Absolutely love it. They also make mounts for top dot options with your scope. I know Nick is running one of these, tends to really like it, and I wear this shirt all around the house all the time because my wife says I need wardrobe that has more color in it. So check out Zero Gravity. Awesome products.
Next, guys, 100 Concepts. We've talked a lot about the optic accessories that they have, from light covers to anti-reflective devices, but they also offer scrim, both for your helmets as well as for packs. If you want to use this to break up your outline, or as an identifiable feature, you could pick a color like Multicam Tropic, and all your boys are wearing the same color out in the great international milsim game. Then go check out 100 Concepts. They make awesome stuff. If you are actually considering building out a war box or anything along that vein, night vision and thermal devices, or anything in that world, from helmets to night vision accessories, Steel Industries has you covered. They make awesome stuff, and we harp on it every single week, but their customer service is top notch, and that really matters when you're spending a lot of money. Links and info are in the description for all these brands. Let's get back to the video.
So what comes next, and what is our place in all this? Well, the truth is that while external forces are playing out psyops on you right now, there are also psyops being played on you by your own government. It's just that this is the first time in history where the people have been acutely aware of it thanks to the internet and technology. What we do know is that there will be serious events happen in our lifetime, such as assassination attempts or regime change within our own government, financial collapse, attacks on US infrastructure, and even terrorist attacks. And while these may seem like huge problems, they're really just symptoms of a bigger problem, and that problem is a civilization in decline. Now, I'm not being un-American, I'm not being unpatriotic. This is just how history plays out regardless of the government or the country that we're talking about. And I'm going to give you a quick history lesson as to how that plays out and where our place is in it. Now, this is the history lesson they're not going to teach you in school, not in middle school, not in high school. I know, because I used to be a teacher, and this is one of the things that whenever I tried to talk about it, I got phone calls from parents angry because I put an idea in their kid's head that America might not last forever in the way that they know it. Well, I hate to break it to you, this is just the reality, and this is not what you're going to find in a textbook. Now, there will always be this struggle between government and people. Government always wants more control. They're always fighting in the interest of having more control, more authority over the people. The people often are always looking for more freedom. They want the security, but they also want the freedom. It's kind of a little bit both and. Take a kid, for example. My daughter, she wants all the freedom in the world to do whatever she wants, but she also wants the security of Dada to help her when she needs it, right? This is just a natural human tendency. So there's always this struggle between government and people. As government wants more power, people pull back. And in a perfect world, you have a really good relationship here where everyone kind of seems happy. You got the security and you've also got plenty of freedom. But eventually something happens. And usually what happens is not something that gives the people more freedom, it's something that gives the government more control. So you will be on this really nice little symbiotic relationship here, and boom, something changes. Government gains more power and the people get less freedom, right? So, you know, a lot of us who are living today think about 9/11. When that happened, what did our nation do? They passed the Patriot Act, and that expanded all sorts of issues for personal freedoms and personal privacy. It came at our expense, right? And government gained even more control. And then something else will happen, and government gains more control, people get less freedom, and so forth and so on and on and on and on, until you reach a boiling point. And when it reaches a point where the people can no longer tolerate what government is doing to them, there is typically some sort of war or revolution. This is just how it plays out, whether it's a communist nation, a republic, a democracy, whatever you want to, whatever form of government it is, that's how it plays out. And after that major conflict, what do you know? The cycle repeats itself. The conflict dies down, and now there's a new relationship between government and the people that seems pretty amicable. Most people have agreed to it sometimes, and then it starts over again, over and over and over. The question is where do we fit in all this? Are we at the boiling point yet? I don't think so. We might be here, right? Or we might be right on the tip of it. Or heck, we may be right here and just something hasn't popped off yet. Now, you may think that I'm just talking about our timeline, but if we zoom this out, you'll start to see how even over just the past 500 years, this has happened numerous times. Let's look over here to 1500 to 1600. What was going on in Europe at the time? Well, people were tired of being religiously oppressed. They didn't have very many trade opportunities or business opportunities, and it pushed a large group of people to move to the New World. They got sick of the way things were working for them, between them and government. They moved to a new world where they have a new relationship between them and government. They have more opportunities. But over the course of time, tensions started to rise. The relationship between the king, especially the English people who were living in America, the relationship with the king and the people, it was deteriorating fast. And that led to the American Revolution. That's where you hit a boiling point. After that, we have a new America where things are, hey, we're kind of liking this, but what do you know? Government changes how they want to do things, and you have a civil war. They pass a couple of laws, and all of a sudden numerous states are like, we are not on board with that. We are going to secede from this. Now, whether they were right or wrong, we'll let you guys be. That's not what we're talking about today. We're just talking about this is what happens throughout history to countries. And so that is what we're in. We are in this cycle somewhere. These are not the ramblings of a madman, although I'm sure I'm coming across manic and crazy. This is not theory, this is just history. And because we don't know where we fall into it, that's why it's so important to have all the tools necessary and all the skills necessary to survive what is coming, to make it through. Even if it doesn't happen in our lifetime, by doing this, you're creating a legacy within your family to do the same. And they will need it at some point. At some point, someone in your lineage will need the habits and the tools that you are working to put in place right now for yourself. So no, having stuff like this is not a waste of time and money. I tell you what, it would be way easier to not spend time and money on this stuff. In fact, most Americans do. If I didn't have all this stuff, or if I sold all of my stuff, I could probably take the family on an extra vacation. We could probably have a little bit of a nicer car. We could probably put a little bit more into savings. We would probably have a little bit fancier of a house, or we could buy some extra modern conveniences. Whenever I watch guys and I watch them acquiring gear and training, I know they're making a sacrifice. Their family is making a sacrifice to create the kind of legacy that we're talking about. It is not the easy road. There's a lot of people who like to point at guys who buy gear or go and train as like they're throwing their money away. It's like, no, they're building something different. They're building something different than what everyone else is spending their time and money and energy on. They're thinking generations ahead, and they're trying to put in place this lifestyle that can set their children up and their grandchildren up to survive what is to come and to build a better world one day. So as you go about training and acquiring the gear, you really have to know what your mission is. What should you be prioritizing? What things should you get? And that's really where the planning comes into it. So I'm going to kick it back to Josh, and he's going to show you what goes through his head, or what has went through his head as he's created this war box of sorts.
Now, there's a lot of capabilities in a box like this, but because I have already set my mission in mind, I'm not just going to be donning everything in here if something were to change just 1 or 2 degrees. I have the ability to scale what's in here. If terrorist attacks started becoming a common occurrence around America, I could easily just grab a low-vis plate carrier and throw that on. This does not mean that I have to take this with me into the woods. No, again, the goal is to be in close proximity to my family. This is just a toolbox that I can pick and choose from depending on how fast or slow things are ramping up. So let's get into the tools that I actually have organized based on my goals and the way that I actually see myself using some of these tools. All right, right on top, the first thing that I have access to is an empty backpack, because this Pelican case would be very difficult if I did need to move with some of these tools. Whether it's water, medical, or anything else, an empty backpack is good to have around. Next, I have a rifle, my general purpose rifle that has capabilities with white light, night vision, thermal. I have magnification and a top dot if I'm shooting with a gas mask or passive with night vision. With a suppressor, this 14.5 is very capable. I'm confident in it out to 500 yards. I think with the thermal, that's where my capabilities kind of end, but this is a really, really good system. If I were to be opening up this box, I should probably already have an EDC, but I at least have a backup. So this is a Glock 34 in here, and then I have, I think, 6 loaded mags with duty hollow point ammo as well. And speaking of being able to scale, I have a low-vis plate carrier. So this is a hard to find plate carrier. This one's from Crye Precision, but guys, really anything that fits well under a flannel is gonna be a good option. Now, if I am just wearing a low-vis plate carrier, I could throw that fanny pack with medical either around my waist or inside of the backpack. If I wanna continue to scale even more, that's where a full chest rig like this comes into play. Now, inside of here, I have 4 30-round mags, 2 20-round mags, a radio, I have a multi-tool, red headlamp, lube, I have batteries, I have face paint, I have gloves. There's a whole ton of equipment in here, and I could rock this without that plate carrier, but really this is kind of the heart and soul of the fighting loadout. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, paying attention to current events, if you don't have thermal and or night vision, you're really missing out, because conflict is not stopping when it starts to get dark. So this is a ballistic helmet from Protection Group Denmark. I have a bunch of good accessories on here, from white and red light to strobes that do IR. I have ear pro and then down leads that go to comms. I have a 14 that can also take that thermal device, and I can mount that on the helmet as well if need be. But there is also a time and a place for just your EDC and a helmet with nods and thermal. So this also could just be a standard loadout with your EDC depending on the situation. Eye Pro, Ear Pro, that's a good standard to have on hand. Also, I can add in here some cold weather gear, so good gloves with liners as well as a whoopee. Next, I also have a gas mask in here. It doesn't matter if you live near a farm, if you live in an industrial zone, anything that's burning, getting into your lungs is going to be a huge health hazard, either in a short amount of time or in a long period. So gas masks, wise investment for you and your family. And then this segment up here is a little bit more of a specialty role. So here's where we get into information gathering. So this is a Eberly stock recon rig where I have Leupold range finding binos. I have a notebook. I have one mag on here if need be, and a little bit of medical. It's a really good quick grab for just sitting and observing if I have to. 2 water bottles, a big one and a small one. The smaller ones obviously are easier to fit on kit. A big one, I'd rather just throw into a backpack. Knee pads, just another form of PPE. I've also kind of gotten away from running belts. They seem to really slow down mobility for the most part, and can even cut off blood flow if you're wearing them and you sit down for too long. So if I am going to run a belt of any kind, I'm probably just throwing a Safariland holster and 1 or 2 extra mags on a typical belt. Because I have that holster, or excuse me, because I have that pistol, I also want to be able to have a holster for it. So tier 1 concealed holster. And then getting back to the idea of intel gathering, or maybe even shooting long range, having a tripod, some stability system is amazing. Now I could take this and wrap a poncho around it and set up a quick shelter if need be. This box is not designed to be a sustainment loadout. I have a full nother backpack that is setting me up for sustainment. But again, my mission is to be around my family primarily. And so I'm not concerned about so much using this as a shelter as I am using it as stability to observe. And then staying with that recon observation idea, this is a little kit that I've built out in order to camouflage my rifle, my tripod. There's even some pruning shears in there where I can cut off vegetation that's around me, and I can use some shock cord that's in here to attach it to any of my equipment if I have to. And then in this DACA pouch, we've done a video on it. It's referenced multiple times, but this is a sewing kit with super glue as well as a full cleaning kit for my rifles. And then being that it's so cold out these days, we're gonna be getting a lot of snow here in Tennessee, a hand warmer, and then on the inside, I also have some hot hands if need be. Also, we film a lot, if you can't tell, and having some hot hands on hand really helps when you're zeroing thermal guns. So even if it's summer, good to have those around. Now with that tripod that I referenced, having a spotting scope is not required, but man, does it make it so much easier to be able to observe things at a long ways away, no duh. Sticking with the stability idea, sandbags, yes, they're heavy and they're bulky, but there's just nothing that really replaces a good sandbag. And if you're working with rocks, fence posts, or even a tripod that isn't designed to mount directly to your rifle, having devices like this make your life so much easier. One more DACA pouch of cold weather gear, so replacement gloves, balaclavas, wool hats, and socks. It's a good little packing list to have on hand, whether this goes in your car, in a backpack, or a full Pelican case. Then I also have a complete refresh of ammo for my chest rig. So the 4 30-round mags and 2 20-round mags as well. All right, probably the most important thing that I actually have on the lid organization here is a DACA pouch with paperwork telling me, reminding me how to actually use my radio, as well as charging cables and extra batteries. I can push a button on a radio, but I actually need written instructions, dummy proof, on how to actually change programs and everything else. So that's all organized in one DACA for me. From there, I have on this side, tubular nylon. It's just rope. Obviously you could use it for any sort of things, but it's really strong rope, so that's nice. I have more hot hands. I have CLP for my gun, as well as a lighter. I have a small charging brick, so I can recharge my phone or those radios if need be. And then over here, I have the cables to actually charge everything from my Garmin that I have down here, as well as the radios in my iPhone. Extra batteries, these go to everything in my kit. I have scrim for my helmet. We did a video on signature reduction, and using something like this to break up your helmet is a really big deal. Down here, I have a little bit of a battle board with maps of local area, as well as writing utensils and a notebook, and the ability to draw out, let's say, a range card of sorts, or just take notes if need be. As mentioned, the Garmin, and then I have a dope book down here, so data, muzzle velocities, drop, and a bunch of other notes for the guns that I'm actually shooting, electrical tape, and finally, a Quinsheng radio that I don't mind giving out to someone else in case Drew forgot his again. So this is really just a massive compilation of things that I tend to keep around wherever it is that I'm going, if we're going to be filming or if I have a heightened concern. Now this doesn't mean that you need to replicate exactly what you saw here. And there are certainly things that I want to build experience in and more capabilities that then I can add to here. You may be thinking, dude, you don't have any anti-thermal, you don't have a drone, you are not prepared. Yeah, it is a marathon, not a sprint. And that's why training today is so important. Just like how I learned there are things that I want to be doing and things that I don't want to be doing IRL, that's once again where training starts to come into play. And I have future goals and items that I'd love to add to this, but based on where you live and what your biggest concerns are, this may look very different for you. Also, a Pelican case. The case themselves are really expensive. You can do this with 2 Home Depot totes organized and ready to roll just in case. Now, if you're paying attention, you're probably thinking, dude, all of this is just fighting equipment. You don't really have anything to filter water. You can only carry 1 or 2 water bottles. Where's your shelter? Where's your food? And you're right. This is fighting equipment for me to actually wear and pick and choose what it is that I actually need. That's where a pack like this comes in. My intent is to be at home near my family. But if I were to need to leave, that's why I have a loadout like this, a backpack to help me sustain for 3+ days if need be. If I had to stretch it to 5, I could probably go hungry and make it happen. But this Pelican case is for conflict. A pack like this is what I would need to go backpacking, camping, or sustain myself. Now, a good reminder for you guys, if you're building out a pack like this, is to leave room. So I've actually left room in here for an FPV drone. If I have other mission essential gear, depending on what scenario is going on, more cold weather gear, hot weather gear, whatever it is needed, I have the space in this pack to supplement what those tools may be. But this already exists for me to sustain and stay alive. The Pelican case is large with a variety of equipment because we still don't know how tomorrow is actually going to play out. So is this a waste of time and money? No, is the answer. Why? Because even if we did know where we fell on that graph, what circle we were in right now, we still wouldn't be able to know how fast it could escalate. There are times in history where it has escalated from 0 to 100 in a matter of 10 days, and other times where it takes 10 years. No one actually knows. But going back to a point that we made before, when civilians own modern military fighting equipment, the government's overreach is slowed, delayed, or reversed. And when they don't, civilians don't stand a chance. The goal is for you to not only own this stuff, but become so proficient with it that you can pick up anyone else's equipment and use it if you need to borrow it. But that comes with a caveat as well. You can own a lot of these things, but if you can't run a sub 10-minute mile, use this equipment proficiently, get first round impacts when need be, and protect your family with the gear that you have, owning it is a waste of your time and money. So get in shape, start training, become proficient with the gear that you have, and from there, you might actually stand a chance.
Good, dude. That was good.
Good.
That was good.
Nice.
Oh!
What?
Dude!
What is
I
that?
have bacon in my pocket. I put this in here like 3 days ago.
Oh!
I was in a hurry in the morning. I was like, I'm just
Wait, you
shoving
put
bacon
that in there when?
2 or 3 days ago.
Oh my gosh! Not
Dude,
even
it's
this
good.
morning.
Huh?
If you asked me what I thought you had in your pocket, that bacon would literally be the last thing that I would have assumed. I would have expected something like hand lotion or cream cheese.
Hand lotion.
But
I'm not a lotion guy.
bacon? Are you offering it to me? That's 3-day-old bacon from Drew's pocket.